This is the 2025 Brewtubers Online Brewers Club Malt Experiment, Amber Ale. Thanks to our sponsors. 5 Star Chemicals. Check out their new online straight-to-consumer homebrew shop where you can buy everything from Star San and line cleaner to the new liquid PBW that can be used at temperatures as low as 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Check out their online store at 5starchemicals.com/home-brewing. Beer and Wine Hobby Homebrew Supply Store. A local homebrew shop in Danvers, Massachusetts. Order any malt they offer in any quantity you want, and if you order before 11 a.m., they'll package your items and ship out the very same day. Visit the store at www.beer-wine.com. Let's get tasting.
Cheers and welcome to Iron Nail Brewing. It's time for beer number 7 in the 2025 Brewtubers Amber Ale Malt Experiment. Today we have Dan Riggerbrew. He used Weyermann Carared. I had the pleasure of meeting Dan in Asheville a few weeks ago at Brew Union, and it was fantastic to meet in person. Great guy, makes great beer, always has tons of knowledge and experience to share. I've learned a ton from him in my time in Brewtubers, so I'm excited to try this beer. He used, like I said, Carared, which is a Weyermann malt, and I think Weyermann says you can use it up to 25%. It's style-wise, I'll put some stuff up on the screen, but they say it's kind of more like for, I think they said ordinary bitter, American red ale, that sort of thing. But the description that they give for the malt falls in line nicely with an amber ale. So I'm excited to try and see how it plays in an amber ale. I think, if I remember correctly, Weyermann said you can use it up to 25% of the grist. SRM's like, I don't know, I'll put it on the screen. It's like 16 to 23, something like that. I'm probably making that up, but I'll put the right number on the screen. And Dan used 11.7% in his amber ale. And supposedly it has kind of a caramel, sweet, malty, and they said pastry, if I remember correctly when I was reading up on this malt. I have not used this malt in anything that I recall, so I'm really excited to try it. And it'll be interesting to see kind of what it does with that, with the color, in addition to the flavor, because it's the emphasis, obviously, as you can tell from the name, and if you read about it on their website, is for use in beers that you want to be red. So this will be very cool to try. So let me get a shot of his label. Hopefully the side cam's working. His came out at 5.8% ABV. It was 1056 OG, 1013 FG. And, other than that, I think that's going to be the biggest variable. The IBU should all be the same between everybody's beer, more or less. How you perceive that is kind of one of the interesting components of the experiment. But the ABV is going to vary depending on, efficiency, how well your yeast attenuates, all those things. So there is some variability there. So anyway, let's crack this thing open. Awesome label. All right, nice hiss as I crack it open. Hopefully get over this direction for the pour. All right, looking good. Beer can, I should have left a little bit. More headspace in the glass so I can swirl better. But there's a look at the beer. That is lovely color. It's similar to some of the others. It's very clear. You can probably see my hand through there. It's similar to some of the others in terms of the color. It's got that copper or red kind of orangey thing going on. Nice and clear, good carbonation. Not a lot of head on top, but I'm not going to complain too much about that. Let's check out the aroma. I should have done that first right when I opened it. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's very, very caramel and malty for sure. Not much hops on the nose in this one. But yeah, it smells sweet and malty and very pleasant. All right, let's give this thing a taste. I'm probably going to take a couple of big gulps so I can swirl. I got this thing too full. Got to be careful with these bigger cans. This 16 or 16.9, probably 500 mil. Anyway, let's see what this thing tastes like. That is really good. It's sweet, and it is just a little bit roasty in the finish, which I kind of like. Let me take another sip here. Yeah, it's interesting. The description of the malt doesn't quite match what I'm getting. I'm getting more caramel for sure, caramel sweetness, but some dark fruit stuff, which they didn't mention. Another fruit fly. And not so much the pastry thing or bready, which is kind of interesting. And now that it's sat for a second, actually, let me get another sip so I can swirl this thing and get another sense of the aroma. Swirl that up a little bit. Get another shot of very nice looking beer. Excellent job. And like I've said before, the execution on all these beers has been fantastic. And it's going to be harder and harder to rank because I think the luck of the draw is as I get further down the list, I think there's more malts that you're used to maybe seeing in an amber. I started out with the weird ones, and I didn't do that intentionally. I say weird; these are all been great beers. Unexpected, that's a better way to put it. Yeah, this is. Yeah, so even on the nose, I get more fruitiness than I would have expected from the description. Sorry, I'm trying to swirl without spilling it, but not doing too great a job. Yeah, it's more fruity, and there's also kind of like with, I think it was Adam's beer I'm thinking of from Hattie Brews. It has a tang in the finish that makes me think of British bitters, so I can see why they would put it as a malt you might want to use in that style. But yeah, that's a really good amber ale. It's I don't have any experience with Carared to judge against, but it's a little bit different than I would have expected. Like I said, from the descriptor, it is more it's more sweet and more dark fruit and has a tang in the finish that I was not expecting based on the description. And based on kind of recipes I looked at that use Carared. So as with all these, it's great to see what this, how it works in an amber ale. But yeah, excellent job on this beer, Dan. It's really good. I think you said your keg didn't last long. I can see why. It's especially if you like kind of very malt forward, kind of sweeter amber ales. This is a really excellent beer. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think where to rank this. I think probably I would say for me, and again, gets harder and harder as time goes on, as I go through the list here, because it is nothing to do with the quality of the beer. These are all great. This is an excellent beer. And this is kind of a blanket rationale, because as things jostle towards the end, it may. I just want to make the point that I'm not judging the beer. I'm kind of like, for me personally, how well do I like this malt in an amber ale, and how well do I think it works? I think if I remember my list correctly, I'm going to put this as the new number 4. It is similar to Hattie Brews, but it is a little bit more sweet and more tangy. That for me is a little bit, especially as I have more of it, it hangs around a little bit more than would be my preference. But again, like Dan's probably going to be mad at me. Nothing against the quality of the beer, and I think he loved this and went through it very quickly, which I can see why. I think it's just a little bit. It's just a little bit sweet and a little bit intense. And as with all these malts, the interesting thing to think about is, okay, well, if you like the characteristics which it brings to this, which are good, and this is 11.7% of the malt bill, could you use less of it and still get that color? And that's the tricky part, because like my beer, which I think is still at the bottom, I kind of ran into the same conundrum. I used amber malt. I used enough to get the color I wanted, but then it's like it didn't the flavor didn't work quite as well as, maybe something else would. So it's an interesting challenge. And again, the idea with this experiment is to get a sense of what these malts do. So I definitely can get a sense of what Carared is, and it's not bad. I actually like it quite a bit. I just think personal preference comes into play here, and it's a little bit sweet for my personal taste. Now, a lot of people would probably have the amber ales that I like and go, what even is this? Not an amber ale, because they like things on the sweeter side. I tend to like a little bit roastier, not necessarily bitter or astringent, but it is really easy, and I think I've said this before, but to reiterate, it's really easy for me to find amber ales that I don't particularly like, because a lot of amber ales that you just kind of get in the world at large are a little bit sweet for my taste. And I know that's a lot of caveats, but I just want to make the point again. Great beer, great execution, and it just is a little bit sweet for me. That's the bottom line. But it is a darn good beer, and Carared that's an interesting malt. I'm trying to think. I think I could probably see it in probably what it would work. Again, personal taste here. Probably what it would be good in. Would be maybe a hoppy red ale, where you really want to, maybe even double the IBUs of this. This is like 30. I think on his he says 31. I think the target for the recipe was 33. Yeah, maybe if you're pushing like 50, 60 IBU and you had that amount in there, for me, it would like balance out a little bit better. And I can definitely see it in British style bitters. It would fall in line with those pretty nicely. And basically anything where you want some red color, and you just have to be aware that even at 11% in this recipe, and there's so many variables here, I hope you're following along with all the caveats I'm making here. At 11.7% in this recipe, kind of like I said, as with my amber malt, it's a little bit intense. But from the standpoint of the experiment, it is a great way to get, like I said, I appreciate all these beers where you're not just drinking an amber ale kind of thinking, oh, what else going on in there? This is like a great vehicle to understand what Carared does. And Kurt, having done that base recipe, was kind of an awesome way to set the baseline, more or less, for understanding kind of the variable. So I think the experiment base recipe is great, very well done, and it is really, I'm having a blast trying all these different malts, and I'm learning a ton. This is a great way to learn stuff that would take you, a year if you were trying to do this on your own. So yeah, again, I appreciate all the work everybody's putting into these. Yeah, so I think the new number 4, I hope that's right. I should look at my rankings before I hit record, because in my head, as I add more beers, I'm probably forgetting which ones are where. But this will be, it's similar to Adams, so I'm going to put it one slot under Adams. So wherever that turns out to be, and obviously I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, really great beer. That's an interesting malt I will have to keep in my head for. I've been thinking a lot about doing like an imperial red ale. There's one that is made about this time of year, actually, by North Jetty, called Graveyard of the Pacific. That is one of my favorite beers, and it's an imperial red ale, and it's fantastic. And I think this malt would be great in that sort of beer, where you can counter the sweetness with a bunch of hops. I think it would work great, because the color it brings to the beer is really nice, and the sweetness is not, I don't dislike it. It's just a little bit much for my taste. But I think if you threw it in a recipe like that, where you could kind of balance it out with some hops and some other stuff going on, it would work great. And the color that it adds is really nice. So yeah, I think I'll leave it there for this one and go finish this beer. And as I'm thinking back of what I just said, I don't want to give anybody the impression that I don't like the beer. We're supposed to evaluate these, so if it sounds like I'm like, well, and getting all nitpicky, I kind of am, because I kind of have to really dig in and judge it as best I can, and it's always going to be from my own perspective. Somebody else might have a beer I love and say, "Hey, that's not for me," and have this one say, "This is fantastic," and it is a fantastic beer, just a little bit sweet. I know I'm repeating myself at this point, so I am going to leave it there. I think I have, what do we got? 4 more beers left. And I think, well, I won't try to rattle off what the malts left are. I know there's Red X, I know there's Honey, and I don't remember what the other 2 are. But we've got 4 more, and then we'll have a finale wrap up and see which one I thought personally worked the best. But yeah, and so we'll see you for beer number 8 in another day or 2. Cheers. Thanks, Dan. Great beer.